Okay, so here I am, being interviewed, and I understand that I got myself into this scrape by having such an extraordinary jersey. Now, it's a very ordinary acrylic pullover, but when it wears out, I darn it. You see, it's got a huge hole here, and this needs darning, and it'll slowly grow all over the jersey. So that's what's got me into this scrape. Otherwise, I would be left in peace.
Just to start the interview, would we be able to ask just who you are?
Who I am? I'm called Maurice Henry King, and I'm a retired doctor. I was a doctor of public health, and I retired as a reader in public health. They said it should really have been writer, because I'm been accused of being an obsessive, compulsive, neurotic writer of medical textbooks, of which I can provide you with a great heap of them upstairs. So that's essentially what I was. And I spent most of my working life in Africa, Northern Rhodesia, Uganda, Zambia, Kenya, as a pathologist, working in hospital laboratories. So that so one can't alter what one has. Whether one would have chosen to have lived life this way, or is another matter. But anyway, that's how I do it. And I met a mission doctor called Peter Cox, and he sent some sera to be tested for brucellosis when I was in Africa, and so that's how I got to know him. And then he subsequently worked in Leeds, and he met my wife, and she said that I was looking for a job. So, the long and the short of it was that there was a vacancy for a senior lectureship in the Department of Public Health, and they had advertised several times and not found anybody suitable, so they appointed me as faute de mieux, for lack of anybody better. It turned out to be an extremely fortunate and happy circumstances, because we're extremely content here in Leeds. As you can see, Ashwood Villas is a splendid place to live.
It is, yeah. It's an amazing house as well.
Amazing house.
It's an amazing house.
So you haven't seen the basement, have you?
We have, yeah. We saw
I took you down to see it.
Yes, yeah, that's amazing as well. We were hoping maybe next time we come and visit you to maybe go down there.
And you can come down there now if you want to.
We'll do this interview for now. We'll see how we are for time.
Yeah.
We don't want to keep you and Felicity waiting.
But I've got nothing better to do than be interviewed by your good selves.
Thank you.
We're heading to shortly going to the church, the Ash Wednesday service at St Michael's. But not to worry about that. My wife can very well go without me. Okay.
What was your childhood like?
What was my what?
Your childhood.
Childhood. Oh, my childhood. I was in Ceylon with my parents until I was 7. And So we lived in a town called Gaul on the south coast, and it was really rather dull. I don't remember having very many friends to play with. So I think it must have been fairly dull. And then when I was 7, my father changed his job, and he went to work in West Africa, Sierra Leone, and while I was left in England at school. So I went to a school called Arnold House in North Wales. So I was there. It was a kind of a boarding prep school, and I met somebody called fairly recently, called Thomas Bewley, and I said, "Would this be the Thomas Bewley of Arnold House?" He said, "Yes, it was." He said his first remark was, "Our headmaster was a paederast." So anyway, so there we are. He was actually professor of psychiatry, so he should know one failing from another. So that was Arnold House. It wasn't a very good prep school, and halfway through, my mother and father, who had gone out to Mauritius, my mother, while they were in Mauritius, she had a sort of nervous breakdown, and one of her aberrations was that she should get her little Maurice from his school in Arnold House, and go out to Mauritius. So that my schooling was interrupted by a visit to. And when we got to Mauritius, my mother was sort of hopelessly unable really to care for me. So I was sent home with friends, and back to Mauritius. As a result of the upset of my schooling, I got 19.5% in the common entrance, which was a common entrance from primary school to secondary school. So I had learnt nothing or knew nothing. Much interrupted childhood. But when I went to Uppingham as a secondary school, a boarding secondary school, where a friend of the family, or a relation, P.B. King, who was in charge of one of the houses, and there I became what the French would call chouchou de professeur, the teacher's pet of the chemistry master. So that was really very fortunate. So I really went from bottom of the bottom class to top of the top class in chemistry. And then from that, I went to Cambridge as an undergraduate and read medicine. Then after Cambridge, I went to St Thomas's in London to finish my medical training. And then after I'd done a couple of house jobs, I had to go into the army. So I joined the army as a captain in the army, and was sent to the Suez Canal, so the canal zone, the Suez Canal. For a couple of years. So then after that, I came back, and pretty soon afterwards, I went back to Cambridge. It was to a very bad department. I was extremely unhappy and didn't enjoy it at all. But then I read an article in the in some journal, was saying pathologists urgently needed in Africa. So I said, I wrote to the writer, somebody called Honor Smith, and he said, come over and see me in Oxford. So I went over to see her, and over an enormous glass of sherry I was recruited to work for the Tuberculosis Research Association in Kitwe in northern Rhodesia. They wanted to try out a new vaccine, the vole vaccine. But when I got to northern Rhodesia, to Kitwe, there wasn't enough tuberculosis to try out the vaccine. So I joined government and sort of stayed working in Africa. So life has been extraordinarily fortuitous, and who would imagine that one would have ended up in Ashwood Villas? But anyway, so that's briefly what I did. But it was very fortunate indeed to have met this missionary in Uganda, Peter Cox, and had I not done so, I would not be here. I don't quite know where I would be. I wouldn't actually be here. So that's not in. You want me to dig out more?
No, we can go to the next question. Yeah, we'll move on just for now. How do you keep yourself busy?
How do I keep myself busy? I repair furniture. So if you have any furniture to repair, I'm delighted to mend it. That's what I do.
Thank you.
Are you sure that you saw the workshop? Did you?
Yes, yeah. You showed us last week. It's amazing.
So well.
Sorry.
So here am I. I've reached 93. Oh dear.
Yeah. Sorry. There you go.
93. But I sort of, having entered my 90s, I sort of, I look at and I wonder, shall I make 100 or shall I not? When am I going to die? Is that a proper thing to ask? So I'm a bit doddery. I use where's my stick? I haven't got my stick here.
It's in the hallway.
What?
It's in the hallway.
No, so I'm afraid these days of falling over, and I've got a helmet that would protect me if I were to fall over, and I ought to wear it routinely. I've only fallen over about twice, but one never knows. Whether one at 93 that when one might not fall over. So I rather tend to catch things and hold on to things. But my wife and I, this is Ash Wednesday. I'm not quite sure what's special on Ash Wednesday, but anyway, there's an Ash Wednesday service. It's the beginning of Lent, and we're going to the service at St Michael's as soon as you've let me free, more or less. So we're keen Christians. My wife was church warden until fairly recently, and St Michael's is a lovely church, and we're very fortunate to be actually in the parish. We're in the parish boundary, only around the corner.
When did you meet and get married to Felicity?
Now this is an extraordinary fog surrounds us. The short answer is I forget. Perhaps, but it's a bit of it's sort of faded into the. I'm not really quite sure. My dear wife would know exactly how we came to meet.
That's it. Do you have any children?
Yes, we got two. Or we did have two. One of whom died in this room, Dominic, and there are his ashes in that carton. He died of motor neuron disease, which is a sort of in which the motor nerves of the body, which do the walking and the breathing and everything else, slowly get cease to function. So he died in this room, and his last words on his notepad, he couldn't actually speak anymore. Well, he said, "I can't breathe," which is really very sad indeed. But I tend to. We have a file called This House, which is for the next inhabitants. Because naked we came into this world, and it's certain we can take nothing out, and certainly not household villas. So I have a file called This House, and it describes, or is describing, what happened in this house for the next inhabitants. Now, we know nothing about our predecessors. Somebody called Mr. Professor and Mrs. Manuel, but we know nothing about them beyond their names. So we shall have this house has space for an account of who we were, what we did, and what disasters Bifellus, particularly this one. And we've got one other son, Dominic, who's the eldest one, who died in this room, was really very, very gifted and talented. Our second one, much more ordinary, but Dominic was a painter and poet, and and eccentric. So that's Dominic. So, one of my problems is, what do I do with the ashes? Have you got any idea what I should do with these ashes?
Spread them.
What?
Spread the ashes.
Spread the ashes. So that's
over a place that you care about.
Yeah. I'm tempted actually to mix them with Wilko's universal adhesive and make them into a sort of clay, which one can shape into an object and make something out of them. But my wife, I haven't actually. I haven't been able to persuade her that that's what we ought to do with the ashes. But I think that would make some sort of bowl or urn or something, or figure out of the ashes. And I'm sure Wilko's general purpose adhesive, mixed with powdered ashes, would be an excellent medium which to make something out of.
Do you have any grandchildren?
Now we do. We have Audrey, who's 7, and then we have Gilbert, who's 5, and then we have Avery, who's about 1. So we've got some grandchildren, but that was Benedict, our second son's family and children. Dominic never. He was 45 when he died. He never married, so we don't have any grandchildren on that side.
Did you face, when you lived in Africa, did you face any kind of troubles because of the time period at all?
No, was there any fighting? No. In Africa, there was no. I didn't meet any troubles of that kind.
Any like racism?
What?
Racism?
No racism.
No racism?
No. We were. It was still sort of right like the old colonial days. We were still sort of the white man and the black man, but everything was always sort of harmonious as far as I was concerned, and we didn't meet any antipathy, and I hope we never caused any.
What do you think of Brexit?
Brexit, I think it's a. I think it's quite unnecessary. Why don't we stick? I'm all for sticking in Europe. You know. What are your views on Brexit?
Yeah, I prefer to just stay in Europe.
You prefer to stay in Europe?
In Europe,
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think we all think the same.
Yeah.
EU.
Next question.
We noticed last time we came on your jersey, the NHS badge. We just wanted to ask you kind of what the NHS means to you.
Well, I'm extremely in favour of the NHS, you know, and I worked for it in the early days, and I think that giving it up would be an absolute disaster. I think that National Health Service is fantastic, and we've had very good experiences of it recently. You know, it looked after Dominic as well as was possible. If it's an incurable disease, there's nothing you can do, but it did him very, very well. And I've yet to I barely have any contact with it. You know, I'm fit more or less. So, and I think the idea that it should be privatised is terrible. My wife, on occasion, consults a private gynecologist, but so it's useful actually to be able, if you happen to hit against a soft patch, to go privately, you know, but that's on occasion and rare. Yeah.
When we did research into you online,
Yeah.
We found mention of your kind of views of America and the government there.
Of America.
Of America.
You found out what I didn't know I had any views on America.
Oh.
It was. I think there's a bit further.
Obviously, correct us if we're wrong.
What?
Correct us if we're wrong, because we may be entirely wrong. It may be a different Maurice King, but.
Oh, there are several Maurice Kings.
Yes, maybe it's confused.
So this one is. He is consumed by the need to address the overpopulation crisis and the overpowering evil of the US State Department, which in concert with other agencies like the United Nations, the World Bank and the Roman Catholic Church.
That must be a different Maurice King.
It must be a different one.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
Okay.
It's rather useful. I can sort of get out of what I don't want to own up to by saying it's a different Maurice King. Not that I would want to necessarily get rid of that one.
Moving on to the kind of overpopulation crisis, what are your thoughts on that?
On population, I feel rather worried by it actually. I don't see it as so awful. I think the environmental crisis is worse. You know, I think that global warming is the danger. I'm much more worried by that than the people. In fact, in some countries, there's actually a lack of people. Japan is sort of getting old, and people aren't having any babies. so this is sort of the reverse of so the crisis is in that direction, and the Baltic states are also aren't having as many children as they used to, but well, I'm not overly well. I'm not worried by the population situation.
In terms of the environmental crisis, then what would you?
I mean, what would I do? I sort of have here turning off the gas and staying at home and not travelling is sort of, I was sort of worried by the use of resources to really unnecessarily. I kind of tend to turn off the fire at the first opportunity, and try to live sort of parsimoniously.
What would you say is the best way for someone to kind of pull their weight in solving the climate crisis?
That's a very good question. I think one of them is to sort of stay at home. We've been concerned with the extension to Leeds Bradford Airport. I think flying is a great a great pity and sort of tragedy, and seldom necessary. So do go on holiday by
every now and again by plane.
By every now and again. So
yeah, I know I shouldn't, but yeah, try and use coaches in the future.
We hear the planes going over here daily to Leeds Bradford Airport, and so I'm very much against holidays by air. It's very, very wasteful, very wrong, I would reckon.
Just to talk about your workshop.
Yeah.
How long have you kind of had that?
We had I got the most that lovely lathe. I've left that to the university, and somebody's come round and had a look at it, and they were very happy to have it. It was some ways kind of unnecessary extravagance. I quite frequently use it, but not nearly to its full potential. I should be making model steam engines and such like.
How long have you offered free repairs for furniture?
Well, I intend to put a notice at the bottom of the road indicating furniture repaired free. Call at number 5 and see what happens. What I think is most likely to happen is that the notice is removed. It's vandalised, probably.
Hopefully not.
Hmm?
Hopefully not.
How long have you been mending your clothing?
What? How long have I? Can't remember.
Can't remember.
Well, this is. But this requires a special needle. It requires a wool needle has a large eye to take the wool. But then wool needles, as bought in the shop, have a round end. But this one has needs a sharp end, so it actually goes through the actual patch and the surrounding jersey. So it's absolutely dependent on that particular on a needle of this kind, and the jersey will potentially last forever. Here's a hole, and I can sew it up on any colour, except which is different from the surrounding ones. It's just a general rule. So what shall I do with my jersey? What will be done with my jersey when I'm no longer able to live in it?
Pass it to your grandchildren?
Pass it to my grandchildren. Well, maybe. Then it'll have to wait until they're rather smaller. It'll have to wait until they grow. So, can I inspire you to make a jersey like this?
I don't know how to sew.
Well, I can show you in 5 minutes.
Maybe another time.
What?
Another time.
Another time.
Another time, yeah.
Bring a black acrylic jersey, and I will show you. And we'll start, and I'll give you the required needle and some wool to start with.
Okay. I think I've got a black acrylic jumper, so I should be able to bring one.
Okay, bring your black jumper.
I will, yeah.
Any time we have to be in, and I'll.
That'd be great, yeah.
Take me up on that. I feel I would have a thought. There's in fact a place, kind of cliff at the back, to put a notice, and it's kind of it's the community of the Darned need Jersey. Anyway, but I should be delighted.
Okay, thank you.
But not what about this one? No, not this one.
Maybe not this one, but I've got a better one. I think one more like yours.
Yeah, it's probably better if it's an old thick one. This one's also growing downs at the front.
How long have you been concerned about like reusing?
What?
How long have you been like reusing things in different ways?
Making what?
Like reusing like items. So like you've constructed your jersey, and then obviously you've been doing your bits in your workshop. Like how long have you been
Repurposing
repurposing?
and repairing.
Repairing things.
Yeah, like repurposing like your jacket.
Several years.
How come?
What?
How come you started?
I can't remember when I started this.
Do you know the reason why?
No, I think the memory gets worse in old age. 93. Oh dear, oh dear. No, 93, isn't that twee? Oh, idiotic. Right. 94. What a bore.
When were you born? So when are you going to be 94?
When am I going to be 94? I'm going to be 94 on February the 7th next year.
Okay, so you only recently turned 93?
Yeah, I only fairly recently turned 93.
Okay. So I often see you just walking about, just in the streets. What are you doing?
Doing what?
Well, I often see you just out and about.
You see me around and about?
Yeah. So what are you doing when you're out and about? You just go in different places.
Well, I go downtown. I go and I go shopping in Headingley, and probably mostly go to St Michael's. No, actually, we go by car. My wife drives, so I don't drive. I haven't driven for a long time. So you've seen me around Headingley, have you?
Yeah. Well, you've got the litter picker. You've got the litter picker attached.
A litter picker.
Attached to your stick.
A litter picker. Yes, I pick up litter. Is this creditable or discreditable?
Creditable, yeah.
Creditable.
Yeah.
Pick up the litter.
Yeah,
that's great.
That's a good thing to do.
It's a sort of neurosis, When I'm sort of waiting at the bus stop, well, you might as well actually pick up the litter. I usually carry a plastic bag to put it into until I get to the nearest bin. But it does make quite a lot of difference. And this, inclined to wonder, what is the half-life of a piece of litter? If you have a piece of litter, what's it? How long is it going to last before somebody picks it up with the council or some sweeping machine or something, or it gets blown away into the hinterland? How long it lasts, but I think. Anyway, if it sees me coming, it is likely to last less long.
What would you say is maybe one or two key bits of advice for people in general? Just any advice you would give?
You've lived a long time, so what would your advice be for just...
That's a good thought. Well, that way I always sort of love one another.
That would be your main key piece of advice, just love one another?
No. Actually, I've fallen out with my neighbour next door. Because, he wanted to put up a garage, and I complained. The houses in Ashford Villas don't have garages. But then, in fact, he got my objection overridden, and he made himself a beautiful garage. In traditional Yorkshire stone, it's a lovely job, but we haven't yet kind of made it up. So one of my intentions is to hand him a collection of stickers and say, go around the house, stick them on anything you like. When we're gone, you can have them. So naked we came into this world, and it's certain we can take nothing out. So that chair came from Indonesia. Now that is very best quality Georgian. That one, that knee-hole desk. And who wants this clay model, which we got, brought back from Indonesia? Some children in a it was made by children in a brickworks in Surabaya in Indonesia, and it lost one of its ears, and I had to stick it back. But you'd never notice it. But it goes there very well. So you better give me your names and addresses, and when we're gone, you can come and have anything you like.
Oh, no, I can't. Can't have that. Can't take your stuff.
Harder.
Can't take your stuff.
Can't take
your stuff.
my stuff.
Yeah, your items.
But I shan't when I'm no longer here.
Ah, okay.
You see.
Yeah.
And let me. I'll put your name down. You can put your name down in the book.
Okay. Would we be alright to do that in like a minute or two? Just
yeah. Okay.
Any more questions?
Proudest moments.
What would you say are your proudest moments
Proudest moments.
of your life?
No, that's it's I can't quite. I'm a writer of medical textbooks, and I think that so I inquired of Oxford University Press, and they're still in print. So primary surgery. This is surgery for the non-surgeons. If you're not a surgeon and you but a doctor but not a surgeon, you have to kind of cope. This is instructions for coping early in emergency, and it's very well thought of. One of our neighbours takes in lodgers, and the lodger asked who else lived in these streets, and the neighbours outlined who we were, and then it came to Maurice King, and there was the Maurice King. She'd met the books. She'd been reading primary surgery. Shall I show you a pile of the books?
We could do it in a minute. Yeah.
In a minute.
About anything more?
I can't think of everything. I think everything's been covered in the list. Okay. Oh wait. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us that we haven't asked you?
No. What are you actually going to do with this recording?
So we would ideally hope to visit you again.
Yeah.
And maybe visit your workshop. I don't know if you remember, but our friend Pele was with us last time as well. So he would come with us next time, hopefully, and we would like to get some recordings of your workshop and the things within it and kind of what you do there.
Yeah.
And some of your possessions.
And then maybe do a second interview, just making it more personal to you. Yeah.
We'll be able to look back on what we've got today and come back with some different questions more.
Yeah. Okay. You're welcome at any time.
Thank you.
Okay.
And we would edit it with all of that footage and pick out the kind of key bits that we want to use and hopefully make a little short piece about it.
Okay. If I have any ideas, I'll keep them in mind and I'll let you know.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So, do you reckon we would be able maybe to one day just follow you about Just
What?
like
Follow me,
Just to follow you on your daily life.
yeah.
like a dog.
No, not like a dog.
What?
Not
Like a
no.
dog.
Just go in the shops or just picking up litter or just doing whatever.
If that would be alright with you.
Yeah, I mean, yes, you can follow me around. I'll invite you out to lunch.
That'd be great, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll try and be in touch soon then to come back to
Yeah.
your house here, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Should we leave it there?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'll have to get a consent form.
Yeah.
Okay.